Hey chain gang, well, apparently it's time to go straight. So grab your hoop, your fabric, your pearl cotton and a needle, and let's get straight stitching. Before we start stitching, I just want to give you a tip on pearl cotton. So pearl cotton is 100% mercerized cotton, and it's different than embroidery floss because it doesn't come in separate strands. It comes in one strand that's been twisted, so you can't take it apart like you can embroidery floss. So I prefer pearl cotton, and I'll tell you why. I feel like it pops up off of the fabric that you're stitching on more than embroidery floss. I do use both, and sometimes I use silk ribbon. I haven't done much with that yet, but I'm sure in a future video I will. So starting with the smallest, this is size 12, and it's almost the thickness of sort of a heavy thread. Then you go into size 8, which is just a little bit thicker, and then size 3, which is size 5, which is quite a bit thicker, and then you go to size 3. Now I prefer size 5 and size 8 because I feel like they're big enough that they show, but they're not so big that they dominate. So these are the 4 embroidery pearl cottons that you can use, and a lot of different companies sell them. And the other thing that's neat about these is, especially size 5, it's easy to find in most stores, and they also have it in solid colors and variegated colors. And I'll talk a little bit more about why I like variegated, but size 5 is by far the most available. So today we're working on the straight stitch, and you are going to love it. So what I've done is, remember we've got our little gentle arches from last time, so I'm making a bottom point mark for where my straight stitches are all going to meet up. And this way you'll have nice straight lines and it'll look nice and uniform, which normally isn't the way I do things, but let's give it a shot. So I've made my first 3 dots. They're basically close to the center of the arch. So I come down and I just sort of eyeball it. You know, if being precise is important to you, I suppose you could use a ruler. So now I'm going to just pop my hoop back in and let's get stitching. So when you start working on your piece, you're going to want to pick what colors you're using. And as I've mentioned before, I really like the variegated. And so I'm going to make my lines, my straight stitches coming down variegated. So the first thing I'm going to do is tie my knot, 3 loops around, pinch it, and pull it down. And then I'm going to pop up through the bottom here and go up in a straight line. Now you may or may not do such a big straight stitch. I'm doing it for the purposes of, so it's easier for you to see on the video. So I go up and I come down, and I'm going to do 5 of these. So if I want, just to make sure that they end up even, I can do my first one, my third one, and my 5th one. So I'm down here, and that way I know I'm going to have nice uniform stitches. So I've got 3, and then I'm going to fill in with the last 2. And this way I have sort of a fan shape or a half wheel, whatever you want to call it. You decide what you think a great name for it would be. So it's just a combination of the straight stitches. What you're going to notice is you will go through your embroidery floss fairly quickly. So on this next one, I'm going to try to do it a little different and come up and go down on the same ends. So I'm going to go down here, and then I'm going to pop over to the middle and come down. And then I'm going to try to come back up almost right where I went in, just over 1 thread. And this way I'm not using up as much pearl cotton. So now I've got my 3, so I'm going to come back up where it's high, go down, and then last time I'm going to pop up right here at the bottom and go through here. And so you can see, even though I used up a lot of my embroidery floss, I still have some left. You can also start back up at the top and go down. There's really, you know, there's no right or wrong way to do it. So just sort of play around with what you feel comfortable with, and that's how you are going to make your stitches. So after, I think the next stitch, I am going to switch out my pearl cotton because I'm at the end of my thread. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to tie it off. Right down there at the bottom. And then I'm just going to let this thread go and I'm going to pull in my stunt needle and keep going. So we've got all of our sets of straight stitches, so I'm just going to flip it over. Tie off my knot, tuck it around something else, tie it off one more time, and then snip my thread. And then let's pop it out of the hoop and see how our piece looks. So here we have the second stitch in our combination. So we started with our arch chain stitch and now we have our straight stitch. So thank you for joining me, and keep stitching. And if you have any questions, you can always post a comment on our YouTube channel on this video. And remember to subscribe to C&T Publishing's YouTube channel so you can continue to watch my series. Thank you very much.